Plaintiff Anita Taylor-Bracey found out she was adopted when she was 7. And years later, her birth mom told her to attend a man's funeral because the man was her biological father. Anita attended but didn't tell anyone who she was and believes the defendant is her sister, so she petitioned the court for a sibling DNA test. Defendant Karen Bullock says her heart went out to Anita when they first spoke because she'd been trying to find information about her father for 40 years. Karen's here today to help Anita get closure.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding.
You looking at grinning?
I'm looking at you grinning. I can't help it.
You better worry about this case.
You may now be seated.
Thank you all for coming. Today we're looking to see if you all are siblings. We're taking the DNA test and we're happy and hopeful.
Yes.
So let's begin with Miss Taylor-Bracey.
In 1959, I was placed up for adoption. My birth mother gave me to a friend of hers and her husband. At the time, my birth mother had another child and wasn't able to care for me.
Okay. And how did that go growing up in that household with your mom's friend?
I couldn't have had better parents.
Ugh.
Unconditional love, support, and everything I ever needed.
Did you find out about the adoption how early on?
At the age of 7.
Okay.
I found out while spending the night over a cousin's house.
Who told you?
My little cousin.
How did it come out? Tell me.
She just said, Uncle Taylor and Auntie are not your real parents.
Wow. And you were age 7?
Yes.
And how old was the child that told you? Your cousin, was it?
I want to say she was probably 10.
So she listening to gossip.
Yes.
Around the house.
So when I got home, I asked my adoptive mother, and she confirmed it and said that she wanted to wait until I was old enough to understand it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Had any contact with your birth mom?
In 1986, my birth brother was on his deathbed. And my mother had someone to reach out to me through the family to ask me if I had a brother that was on his deathbed, would I go and see him? And I said, yes. I saw my brother twice before he died.
How old was he?
2 years older than myself. And
you hadn't had a relationship with him?
Unknowingly, I did.
How?
I was, up until I was at the age of 3, we played together. I didn't know he was my little brother and that the lady that brought him to see me was my grandmother. At the time, our parents decided to separate us because he knew that I was a child, that my birth mother had given up for adoption. Excuse me. And then in 1986, my birth mother gave me a call and said a man had passed and that I had to go to his funeral. And when I asked her why, she said because he was my father.
This was 86. Your birth mom told you that?
Yes.
And your brother, that was 86 also?
Yes.
When he passed?
Yes. When my brother passed, it was 86.
Had a friend reach out, and this time she reached out to you directly?
In March of 88,
right, 88.
My birth mother called and said that a man had passed and that I had to go to the funeral. And when I asked her why, she said because he was my father. I went to the funeral. and I saw Karen and her family. I went up to the casket and I made peace with the fact that this man was my alleged father. I said nothing to anyone. I kept this to myself. And I left the services.
And when you met Karen, you met her as the daughter of the deceased when you were there?
When I was there.
She was the daughter of
When I was reading the obituary, I saw her name.
Got it. Okay.
And I decided that on October the 7th, I wanted to know for sure if what I had been told was true. On my 61st birthday, I got the call from the Judge Mathis show. And that brought me here, and that gave me hope that what I had been told was possibly true, and that at last I would finally get an answer.
I'm just curious how our show found out about your your circumstance.
I
You didn't call?
researched Karen on the internet looking for a phone number or address. Okay. And I was able to find the phone number. At the time, I just knew it was a relative. I didn't know that this would turn out to be her brother. And I left him a message and asked him if he would call me back and why I was calling.
But I want to give my staff credit for being able to bring you all here without you all calling in. I mean, how were you contacted by my staff? They said, I saw your internet search,
no,
and therefore I'm calling you.
I actually called on the 7th of October.
Got it. You called up.
Yes, I called you.
All right. I know my staff is good, but
and they are excellent. Someone called me back on October the 12th, which was my 61st birthday.
Okay.
And I just took that was a good sign that me and Karen were meant to find each other.
All right, let me hear from you, Karen.
Anita called, and we were on a three-way, my brother, she and I, and she said that we share the same father. So when she told me her story, my heart went out to her because she had been looking for her father's family or something about her dad for over 40 years. My dad died in '88. My parents had been married since the late 30s. My father was a businessman, tall, handsome, well-dressed, and...
Like me?
Yes, like you. You all could be twins.
He always get the compliments about his good looks. I want somebody to tell me how good.
Oh,
I shouldn't have had to ask.
You're quite handsome. And
but I had to ask. He don't have to ask.
I am so proud and overwhelmed to be here in your company of such a cosmopolitan, well-known, based in goodness person.
You go ahead. No, stop.
So my heart just went out to Anita, you know, so I'm here for her so she can find out. Now, my dad died in '88. His wallet stayed on the kitchen table for like 3 months, but we were raised, you do not touch anybody else's things. And I was way grown then. So 5 years later, I saw the wallet again, and I went in it and I found a business card.
Why you go in there?
Plain nosy.
Go ahead.
So I found a business card in there with a Bullock's with an S on it in Kansas City. My mother didn't know anything about that, so I called, and I had a spiel. I was calling long distance from Chicago. I found this number in my dad's wallet, blah, blah, blah. I finally got a lady. She said, yes, that's my husband. He answered the phone. He sounded so much like my father, I thought he had, was reincarnated or something. So we hooked up in '94. He's exactly 2 weeks younger than I am. 2 weeks. Right, I said the same thing. And I always wanted a baby brother, a baby sister, because I had 2 older brothers. It was a 5-year difference between us.
Now bring it on home with Miss Bracey.
Okay, so I'm here for her, so she can find out. If she's my sister...
Yeah, but you were on the brother.
Okay, I was giving you some information.
That's what
because
I'm saying.
I got a half brother. Now she calls. So it's a possibility that I have a baby sister that I've been wanting forever.
Now, did you meet the baby
Yes.
brother?
I went to Kansas City and we talked 3-4 times a week. We just like this.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. And did he know of a sister?
No. No one knew. No one knew about him.
Right. But wondering if he might have somehow known. Okay.
He came to Chicago, I guess in the late 70s after he had been in Vietnam with the bullets going by. His mother died when he was 14. His family was separated. And when the bullets were going by, he said, I have to get back home.
That's right.
His family had told him his father was dead. He said, my dad is not dead and I have to get my family back together. So he sent out some feelers. He talked to his aunts and they said, no, well, your father wasn't dead, but he was married and he had 3 kids.
Got it.
So, they didn't do that then.
Got it.
So he came up here and met with my father. They spent 4 days together. My dad took him around to all his spots and stuff. And they looked so much alike and sound so much alike. And even his closest friends didn't know anything about him.
Does Anita resemble?
I see some resemblance now the more I see her as far as one of his sisters.
And how did you all interact, and have you interacted since you all got together?
Oh, yes, we talk on the phone every day.
Really?
I think it's a wonderful thing.
Since when?
Since she first called in October,
Yeah.
the early part of October.
Every day.
Yes. So if she's my sister, Yahoo. If she's not my sister, I have at least met an intelligent life form. That seems like
An intelligent life form.
that seems like
At least you're intelligent. She won't call you a human. But whatever life form you are, you're intelligent.
so I've met someone that I can become friends with.
African Americans, all the way back from slavery, of course, families were torn apart, and the legacy of nearly 300 years of dividing the family has been passed down. The family intricacies can be a little confusing sometimes, and that has been passed down and passed down and passed down. And so much of our lifestyle is a result of what has been passed down and passed down and passed down. And the good part that was passed down was struggle, meaning our ability to stay afloat during the worst treatment and enslavement in perhaps modern history, along with the biblical Israelites. But we learned how to stay strong and how to struggle and how to stay strong enough to win, because we won a lot.
Yes,
A couple hundred years after slavery, we won a whole lot. 50 years after the Voting Rights Act, the same country that enslaved us, we took it over. With a Barack Obama. That was less than 50 years after we had the right to vote. So I'm proud to have come from slavery to the presidency. A lot of folks aren't. Unfortunately, I was making that such a long speech and trying to soften it up for y'all.
Oh, Judge Mathis.
Yeah, I did my best to soften it up. Yeah. Nah, y'all not related.
Oh, no.
Yeah. God bless y'all.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Like I said, I met a friend, and I'm sorry that her journey has not been completed, but that's all right.
But thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about all this COVID stuff that we can't hug.